Have you ever wondered what secrets lie buried beneath the endless white of Antarctica? Imagine drifting into sleep as I guide you through a place where the world slows down, where silence hums like the heartbeat of a frozen dream. The air there glows faintly under the southern lights, and the snow seems to whisper stories older than memory itself. It is the coldest, most remote, and least understood place on Earth. Beneath Antarctica's endless sheets of ice lie buried structures, fossils, and traces of a forgotten story that could rewrite what we know about our planet's past and challenge our entire view of ancient Earth. For generations, this continent was nothing more than a white void at the bottom of old maps, a frozen realm untouched by civilization. Twice the size of Australia, larger than all of Europe, and holding 90% of the planet's ice, Antarctica remains one of the least explored corners of our world. But as our instruments evolved and our curiosity deepened, something unexpected began to surface. From centuries-old maps that depict the continent free of ice, to satellite photos revealing forms too symmetrical to dismiss as chance, Antarctica has grown into far more than a land of snow and silence. Rumors of secret research sites, forbidden findings, and unexplained sightings only heighten its enigma. In this journey, we'll uncover what has been discovered there, the stories that have survived through history, and how they connect to the secrets hidden below the ice. We will explore the legends, the evidence, and what makes this the most mysterious and perhaps the only forbidden continent on Earth. You will hear the legends, witness the data, and decide for yourself what Antarctica is truly concealing. In 2016, satellite imagery taken above the Ellsworth Mountains ignited worldwide curiosity. Amid the ice, one particular peak caught attention, a mountain with 4 crisp faces and a pointed summit. From above, it bore a striking resemblance to the pyramids of Giza. This pyramid-like formation lies in the southern section of the Ellsworth Range, not far from the Patriot Hills Research Station. Rising about 4,150 feet, it is clearly visible in aerial views. Geologists studying the region explain that what appears to be a pyramid is most likely the product of natural geological forces. The mountain is a nunatak, a rocky peak protruding above the surrounding ice. Over millions of years, relentless winds, freezing temperatures, and cycles of thaw and refreeze sculpted its surfaces into the sharp triangular shape we see today. This process, known as freeze-thaw weathering, is common in polar environments and can produce shapes that seem almost engineered. Similar pyramid-like peaks can be found in the Swiss Alps, including the renowned Matterhorn. Yet, the Antarctic pyramid stands out. Most naturally formed peaks with triangular sides have only 1 or 2 smooth faces, while this one presents 4, giving it an almost geometric precision. That peculiarity has led some researchers and independent thinkers to suggest it might not be entirely natural. They propose that the formation could once have been a human-made structure, perhaps a pyramid now buried beneath layers of ice. The idea grows even more intriguing when we compare it to ancient pyramids across the globe. Those in Egypt, Mexico, and Peru share common traits, broad bases, sloped sides, and a deliberate alignment with the cardinal directions. Some see in this repetition evidence of a shared architectural wisdom, possibly passed down from a single ancient source. Others argue that early civilizations may have arrived at the pyramid form independently, drawn by its structural stability and its powerful symbolism. A similar debate surrounds the so-called Bosnian pyramids, where some believe large hills conceal stepped stone structures from a time long before recorded history. While mainstream archaeologists dismiss these ideas, their supporters keep pointing toward the smooth slopes and the sharply aligned corners as evidence of human design. The same reasoning has now shifted to parts of the Ellsworth Mountains. Some observers claim that nearby ridges and snow-laden hills could also conceal pyramid-like structures. In satellite imagery, several peaks indeed display what seem like symmetrical lines and almost perfect square bases. What makes these Antarctic formations so intriguing to scientists is the sheer challenge of reaching them. The continent is cloaked beneath an enormous sheet of ice, in some places more than a mile thick. Only a tiny fraction of the ground beneath is ever exposed. Brutal weather, the planet's most remote geography, and strict international rules make extensive exploration nearly impossible. That's why the deeper truth behind these structures stays hidden. In recent years, satellites have given us a far clearer look at Antarctica than ever before. High-altitude imagery has uncovered a scattering of strange shapes across the frozen expanse. Among them are vast, dark forms that resemble doorways cut into the sides of mountains, and even patterns reminiscent of staircases carved by hand. These images have stirred scientists and theorists alike. One of the most frequently discussed formations lies in an isolated region of East Antarctica, where a large rectangular opening stands out clearly against the icy terrain. It sits on a rock face surrounded by layers of snow and ice. The opening itself is strikingly precise, its lines so clean and angular that it seems foreign to the rugged natural landscape around it. Its geometry, its symmetry, the sharpness of its edges, and the shadowed void inside all combine to give it an almost engineered appearance. Some estimates suggest that the doorway measures several meters high and wide, large enough to fit a full-sized aircraft. Glaciologists, however, offer simpler explanations. They suggest such openings could emerge as ice slowly shifts around rock formations, reshaped by relentless wind and fluctuating temperatures. Melting and refreezing over time can carve voids within the ice, and when snowdrifts shift, those voids may take on geometric outlines. Others propose that the so-called doorway is merely the crest of a ridge exposed by melting ice. Another curious sight appears on one of the southernmost islands near the Antarctic coast. There, a wide cave entrance has been recorded at the base of a snow-covered mountain. The darkness within hides whatever lies beyond, but what surrounds it is even stranger. At the foot of the slope, several dark horizontal bands are visible, running parallel to each other, gradually rising as if forming a staircase leading into the mountain. Such step-like formations challenge our geological expectations. The natural layering of ice or rock seldom produces such tidy, even terraces. Some speculate that these shapes result from ancient collapses or irregular melting patterns, yet their regular spacing and crisp form hint at something more intricate. The question of whether these structures are natural or not continues to spark debate. Adding to the mystery, their appearance seems to shift with time. In certain years, the openings and stairs are distinct. In others, they vanish beneath new snow, only to re-emerge later with altered contours or added detail. But we must remember that in the distant past, Antarctica was nothing like the frozen wilderness we know. Long before it turned to ice, this land may have been home to rivers, forests, and the rhythm of life itself. Over time, mounting scientific evidence has revealed an unexpected portrait of this enigmatic continent, one that inspires both fascination and argument. For over 100 years, geologists and paleobotanists have unearthed fossilized traces of forests long entombed beneath Antarctica's thick layers of ice. In the Beardmore Glacier region, just 500 kilometers from the South Pole, Robert Falcon Scott's 1912 expedition came across leaves that looked remarkably like those of beech trees. The finding was initially dismissed as mistaken, yet later analyses confirmed it was genuine. Farther south, on Alexander Island and across the Antarctic Peninsula, scientists discovered upright fossilized trees still anchored in the ancient soil where they once grew. Some of these stony sentinels reached heights of 7 meters, surrounded by layers of preserved pollen, leaves, and remnants of what was once a thriving temperate rainforest about 100 million years ago. This lush ecosystem spread across a landscape laced with rivers, wetlands, and coastal plains. Despite the continent's polar position, Earth's climate then was far warmer than it is today. The fossilized flora suggests temperatures ranging from 13 to 21 degrees Celsius, with no extended winters of freezing cold. These conditions allowed evergreens, conifers, and ferns to flourish, even through the months when sunlight vanished below the horizon. In recent years, drilling deep beneath the ice has confirmed what surface fossils first hinted at. A research team from Rice University discovered ancient pollen grains embedded within sediments off the Antarctic Peninsula's coast. Their data indicate that tundra once covered parts of the region as recently as 12 million years ago. Before that, glaciers had already begun their slow advance. The evidence makes one thing clear. Antarctica's descent into its current frozen state was not sudden but gradual, with certain areas remaining free of ice for far longer than we once assumed. And that leads us to a tantalizing question. Could the window of mild conditions have lasted long enough for early humans, or perhaps pre-human civilizations, to set foot on this continent? Mainstream archaeology rejects that notion. The consensus holds that Homo sapiens have existed for only about 300,000 years, while Antarctica's ice sheets have persisted for more than 14 million years, based on the oldest samples retrieved. Yet, the occasional controversial claim still finds its way into the conversation. One geological team even reported discovering what appeared to be the ruins of a colossal stone structure near the Doubleday Glacier, describing a building with columns and foundations as large as those of a Roman amphitheater. The find supposedly included carved blocks, artifacts, and coins marked with unusual animal symbols. No peer-reviewed research has verified this site, but even the rumor of such a discovery was enough to ignite both curiosity and doubt. Among the most persistent icons tied to the belief in ancient Antarctic knowledge is the Piri Reis map, created in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. This partial world map shows South America and a mysterious southern continent. What makes it so astonishing is that it seems to depict Antarctica's shape not as it appears under ice today, but as its coastline might look without it. Advocates of this theory argue that such precision would have been impossible in the 16th century without access to maps drawn from much older sources. According to this view, the Piri Reis map may have been assembled using ancient documents left behind by civilization with extraordinary geographical understanding. The idea was championed by historian Charles Hapgood, who proposed that an advanced seafaring culture charted the world's coastlines, including a then ice-free Antarctica, thousands of years before recorded history began. Although his theories met strong criticism from academia, they captured the imagination of the public and found a lasting place in popular culture. He proposed that the Piri Reis map might portray Antarctica as it appeared during the last ice age, perhaps between 10,000 and 4,000 BC, when parts of the continent could have been free of ice. For many observers, the precision of South America's coastline on this ancient chart remains astonishing, given the tools of that era. The depiction of a vast southern landmass, real or imagined, reveals humanity's early fascination with Terra Australis, the unknown southern world. Though later explorers would confirm Antarctica's existence, the question of how ancient mapmakers conceived it and what older sources they might have drawn from continues to puzzle us. Adding to the enigma, modern satellite imaging has uncovered immense ancient landscapes hidden beneath Antarctica's dense ice sheet. In East Antarctica, scientists have used satellites and ice-penetrating radar to map a vast terrain of buried valleys and ridges roughly the size of Belgium. Once carved by rivers and weather, this landscape has lain untouched for at least 14 million years. It resembles northern Europe, with its rolling hills, plateaus, and branching waterways. Evidence suggests that during warmer epochs in Earth's history, this land may have supported vegetation, perhaps even wildlife. But then something changed, and not gradually. Antarctica's transformation wasn't isolated. It was part of a global climate shift, one of many that have echoed through geological time. We've long known our planet's climate is dynamic, oscillating between warm interglacials and the icy grip of glacial ages, the most recent major ice age began around 2.6 million years ago, reached its height about 20,000 years ago, and ended roughly 12,000 years ago, ushering in our current warm phase. Through these cycles, entire landscapes are reinvented. Forests yield to ice, seas rise and recede, and species are forced to adapt, migrate, or vanish. Antarctica's metamorphosis from verdant land to frozen desert stands as one of the most striking examples of this natural rhythm. Yet, there may be another influence behind such a profound change, the motion of Earth's very axis. Known as true polar wander, or crustal displacement, this hypothesis proposes that Earth's entire outer shell can shift over its molten interior, relocating the planet's geographic poles. Unlike the slower dance of axial tilt or precession, such a shift could happen relatively quickly, dragging whole continents into new climatic realms. If this happened in our distant past, it might explain how Antarctica journeyed from a temperate latitude to the South Pole. While this idea remains contested among scientists, geological evidence indicates that Earth's crust has indeed moved across ages. Rock formations and ancient shorelines hint that parts of the surface have shifted over time. Among the more speculative interpretations lies the prophecy of Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet. In trance sessions during the early 1900s, Cayce foresaw sweeping Earth changes, with rising seas, collapsing lands, and shifts in the planet's axis. He claimed that Antarctica, long deemed lifeless, would one day bloom again. According to him, the Earth's shifting axis would unleash floods, reveal ancient terrains, and erase civilizations. He spoke of a time when Antarctica would once more awaken with life, when its icy plains would thaw into green expanses. If Cayce's visions carry echoes of ancient memory, they evoke a haunting possibility that an earlier civilization once flourished on that southern continent, only to perish when the climate turned and the poles themselves began to move. Could the frozen deserts of the South be guarding not just the echoes of ancient forests, but also the faint signatures of a civilization lost to time? Beyond the snow and silence, this forbidden land conceals secrets far stranger than myth. Deep beneath the ice lie hidden subglacial lakes, entire bodies of water trapped for eons, sealed away by kilometers of solid ice, untouched by the world above. Among these, Lake Vostok stands as a giant beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet, buried nearly 4,000 meters below the surface. It has been cut off for somewhere between 15 and 25 million years, a world of total darkness and crushing pressure. Yet in this alien landscape on our own planet, we suspect life still endures. When Russian researchers finally broke through in 2012, after more than a decade of drilling, they reached a realm untouched by sunlight or breath since long before humankind existed. The pressurized water burst upward, mingling with drilling fluid, halting the mission before any pure sample could be recovered. And Lake Vostok is hardly alone. Scientists have now identified more than 400 subglacial lakes spread across Antarctica. Some rival cities in size, while others are brief and fleeting, filling and draining like hidden pulses beneath the ice. These waters remain liquid not because of the sun, but because the Earth itself warms them from below, the thick ice above acting as an insulating lid. Beneath this frozen crust runs a network of subglacial rivers, linking lakes together into what some call a frozen wetland. Recent missions to lakes such as Mercer, lying beneath the West Antarctic ice sheet, have uncovered extraordinary things. In pitch blackness and under immense pressure, scientists found entire microbial ecosystems alive and active. Despite the absence of sunlight, oxygen, or surface nutrients, these microorganisms were not merely surviving, they were thriving. Some scientists think these extreme lakes might even support more complex life, perhaps tiny animals like tardigrades or microscopic worms. Then came Lake Enigma, where explorers found intricate microbial mats, rich and colorful, forming strange tree-like structures along the lake bed. These bacteria had never before been observed in such places. Some of them survived by forming symbiotic or even parasitic relationships with other microbes, creating a web of interactions more complex than anyone expected beneath the ice. Elsewhere, as massive shelves of ice fracture and fall away, parts of the seafloor long hidden have come into view. One of these collapses exposed an ecosystem beneath the George VI ice shelf, where scientists found coral colonies, enormous sea spiders, fish, octopuses, and other creatures thriving in utter darkness. Their sheer size and age suggest decades of undisturbed existence, sustained by deep ocean currents carrying nutrients from afar. Another expedition drilling into the Filch-Nerane ice shelf stumbled upon a boulder on the seafloor covered in fixed life forms such as sponges and other filter feeders. These organisms were found 260 kilometers from the nearest sunlight, in a place scientists once believed lifeless. Yet there they were, anchored and feeding their sustenance, traveling vast distances through the deep, cold sea. Still, for all the progress made, reaching Antarctica's hidden realms remains a monumental challenge. Brutal conditions, international treaties, and environmental safeguards make exploration difficult and often impossible. Most of this frozen continent remains untouched, vast regions unseen. And yet, from the small glimpses science has granted us, one truth stands clear: Antarctica is alive. Against the endless white, one of the most astonishing sights is a streak of blood-red water spilling over ice, a phenomenon no one ever expected to find in such a place. Deep within the McMurdo dry valleys of Antarctica, there's a place where nature seems to have borrowed its palette from a dream. Flowing out from the front of Taylor Glacier is what we call Blood Falls, a vision so striking that it looks as though the Earth itself has decided to bleed. For decades, this spectacle puzzled explorers and scientists alike, standing as one of the most haunting and mysterious sights on the frozen continent. Imagine it. A waterfall, 5 stories tall, its crimson stream seeping into the white glacier like an open wound against the purity of ice. It's as if the planet were trying to tell us something, whispering its ancient story through color. Now, the beauty of Blood Falls doesn't stop at its eerie appearance, because what's happening beneath is even more compelling. About 5 million years ago, long before glaciers ruled this land, this valley was once underwater. When the sea withdrew, it left behind pockets of salty brine that became sealed away under thick layers of ice. Trapped beneath roughly 400 meters of glacier, this ancient body of water was cut off completely from the air, from sunlight, from everything we normally associate with life. Over eons, the water grew saltier and denser, with iron and minerals leached from the surrounding rock. Today, pressure from below forces that briny, iron-rich fluid upward through cracks in the ice. And when it finally meets the air, the iron reacts with oxygen, just like metal left out to rust, turning that vivid shade of red. It's chemistry painting geology right before our eyes. But the fascination doesn't end there. Within those alien waters lies an entire ecosystem, a community of microscopic life that defies what we once thought possible. Scientists have found extremophiles thriving in total darkness, without oxygen, feeding not on sunlight but on iron and sulfur. These microbes have evolved in isolation for millennia, showing us that life is astonishingly adaptable, perhaps even inevitable, under the right conditions. Studying them isn't just about understanding Earth, it's about preparing for the question we've asked for centuries. Could life exist elsewhere, on worlds like Europa or Enceladus, where ice conceals oceans beneath? Still, despite all the scientific clarity, Blood Falls continues to attract theories that step outside the boundaries of reason. Some believe the red water isn't merely iron oxidation, but a signal from something deeper, maybe a hidden structure or an ancient base entombed beneath the glacier. Others suggest a secret biological experiment, an underground laboratory using microbes and minerals for mysterious ends. These ideas may sound far-fetched, but they reveal something about human curiosity, about our need to explain what feels unearthly. And beyond these frozen mysteries, Antarctica has birthed other stories that stretch the imagination further still. Among the most enduring legends is that of the Ningen, a colossal pale figure said to haunt the icy waters. Descriptions speak of a humanoid form, up to 30 meters long, rising silently from the ocean before slipping back beneath the waves. Witnesses from Japanese research vessels describe it with unsettling precision, a face that looks almost human, with two small eyes and a wide, expressionless mouth. Some accounts say it has arms and hands. Others claim it resembles a smooth, finned creature, blending almost perfectly with drifting icebergs. The legend first appeared in online forums in Japan in the early 2000s, yet it spread quickly, feeding into modern myth. Some believe the Ningen could be an undiscovered species, a remnant from a warmer, prehistoric Antarctica. Others go further, imagining it as an intelligent being, perhaps even one that can walk on land. And of course, there are those who suspect governments already know more than they admit, keeping the truth about this creature hidden for reasons of science or strategy. Whatever the reality, this story endures, reminding us that even in a world mapped by satellites and science, mystery still has room to breathe. There's another creature, one that has haunted human imagination for centuries, the Kraken. While most people link it to Norse mythology and the North Atlantic, the Southern Ocean has its own stories of this sea giant. In 2016, satellite images near Deception Island revealed a dark, elongated shape beneath the water, and many were quick to see in it the outline of the old legend brought to life. Scientists later explained it as a sea stack, a column of rock that juts up from the seafloor, yet the resemblance stirred something deeper. Considering that colossal squids, the largest of their kind, dwell in these depths, it's not surprising that the myth of giant beings lurking in the Antarctic still thrives in our collective curiosity. But not all tales from this frozen frontier involve monsters. Some are far more haunting in their subtlety. All through the 20th century, explorers and researchers reported sensations that defied reason, feelings of being watched, presences that seemed to walk alongside them in the snow, though no one was there. The endless nights of Antarctic winter and the crushing solitude of remote outposts make it the perfect stage for the mind to conjure the inexplicable. One of the most striking accounts came from Sir Ernest Shackleton, the famed British explorer who led several expeditions during the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. In 1916, while crossing South Georgia Island under desperate conditions, he described feeling as though a fourth companion was walking with his small team, though only 3 were present. Later, his companions confirmed they too had sensed the same unseen traveler. Then there are stories that drift toward darkness. Among the oldest and most chilling dates back to the early 1842, reports tell of a British whaling ship, the Hope, navigating near the South Shetland Islands when its crew spotted another vessel locked in ice. As they drew closer, they found a schooner named the Jenny, frozen solid in the pack. Inside, the entire crew remained aboard, dead but eerily preserved, seated at their posts as if time itself had paused. The ship's logbook held a final entry by the captain, May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. The Hope recorded the finding but left the ghostly ship untouched, trapped in the ice. The Jenny was never seen again. Another oft-told account arises from one of the driest regions on Earth, the McMurdo Dry Valleys. Scattered across this icy desert are abandoned shelters and outposts left by early explorers. Over the years, those stationed nearby have spoken of hearing strange sounds, footsteps crunching through snow, doors creaking open, and voices that seem to ride on the wind. Some who entered those old huts described an uncanny sense of being watched. Others spoke of tools vanishing, only to reappear exactly where they had been. Scientists generally attribute such experiences to the effects of isolation, the extremity of the environment, and the strain placed on the human mind by such alien conditions. Extended exposure to silence, cold, and unending darkness or light can distort perception, creating the illusion of company where there is none. Still, not everyone finds that explanation satisfying. For them, the fact that the mysterious phenomenon known as blood falls lies within this same region feels far too coincidental. Humanity's fascination with Antarctica's secrets stretches back long before the era of satellites and global treaties. The frozen continent has always pulled at the imagination of explorers, scientists, and even the most secretive powers of the 20th century. Among those was Nazi Germany. In the years preceding the Second World War, the Antarctic frontier became the target of a bold and little-remembered mission that would later feed countless theories. In 1938, Adolf Hitler authorized a covert Antarctic expedition, officially framed as a search for resources. Germany, bracing for war, sought independence from foreign imports. Whale oil, vital for producing margarine, soap, and other essentials, was in short supply. Up to that point, Germany had relied heavily on Norwegian sources, but the drive for self-sufficiency led them southward to the vast southern ocean. The mission came together quickly. On the 17th of December, 1938, the ship MS Schwabenland departed Hamburg, carrying 82 men, including scientists, naval officers, technicians, and one representative of the Nazi Party. Their destination was an immense, unclaimed stretch of land in Queen Maud Land, wedged between British and Norwegian territories. In the weeks that followed, the vessel pressed on through the Southern Ocean until it reached the frozen edge of Antarctica. There, 2 Dornier Wall seaplanes lifted off into the polar air, surveying immense tracts of untouched ice and rock. From above, they released aluminum darts etched with swastikas, a metallic signature of territorial ambition. The Germans christened this expanse Neuschwabenland, or New Swabia, after the ship that had carried them so far south. Altogether, the expedition charted more than 600,000 square kilometers, redrawing humanity's understanding of that corner of the world. Some of the photographs were in color, an extraordinary feat for the 1,930 seconds, and many of those images still serve as valuable scientific archives. Officially, the mission wrapped up in February 1939, mere months before the world would plunge into war. When the Schwabenland returned to Hamburg, it carried thousands of aerial photographs and geological notes, the fruits of exploration. Yet much of that data vanished amid the chaos of global conflict, buried or forgotten, with fragments only re-emerging in the late 1,950 seconds. Some researchers suggest that parts of it were intentionally concealed, and it's at that point where curiosity transforms into mystery. For years afterward, the 1,938, 1,939 expedition was remembered as a brief scientific endeavor with little political weight. But once the war ended, the whispers began. What had the Nazis really sought in Antarctica? What were they building or hoping to discover beneath that endless ice? In the long shadow of the Holocaust and the fall of the Reich, a new mythology took root, one that stretched beyond whale oil and cartography. Rumors spread that the expedition's real purpose was not exploration but establishment, the creation of a remote sanctuary hidden from the world. Beneath the ice, so the stories claimed, lay a base meant to safeguard the Nazi elite or to serve as a research outpost beyond the reach of enemy forces. The very idea sounds far-fetched, yet history has a way of feeding imagination. In July 1945, 2 months after Germany's surrender, the submarine U-530 arrived without warning at an Argentine naval base. A month later, another U-977 surfaced under the same veil of mystery. Their commanders offered no clear explanation for the long voyage or what they had been doing in the South Atlantic. Some speculated that they had ferried officials or secret cargo to a hidden refuge before giving themselves up. To this day, no one has ever found a trace of such a base. No tunnels, no abandoned stations, no buried chambers carved into Antarctic rock. Still, the region of Neuschwabenland, particularly the Schirmacher Oasis, first noted by the Germans, remains a hub of international research. Now, scientists from nations like Russia and India work there, turning myth into method and rumor into data. Yet the story took another twist with Operation High Jump. In 1946 and 1947, the United States mounted the largest Antarctic mission ever attempted, led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. More than 4,700 men, 13 ships, and dozens of aircraft sailed south in an enterprise of staggering scale. Officially, it was a scientific and logistical exercise designed for mapping and cold weather training. But its urgency and scope sparked speculation that something else lay beneath the surface. Some believed Byrd's armada was sent to confront whatever remnants of the Nazi order still lingered there. From its conception, Operation High Jump was unlike anything before it. Conducted just after the end of World War II, it merged scientific curiosity with the unspoken tension of a world not yet at peace. Divided into 3 task groups, Eastern, Western, and Central, each equipped with aircraft and icebreakers, their mission was to photograph and map as much of the frozen continent as possible while testing military endurance under polar extremes. Rear Admiral Richard H. Cruzen led the expedition, but it was Byrd, the seasoned polar explorer and decorated naval officer, who once again embodied America's ambition in Antarctica. The team established a base called Little America 4 and launched extensive aerial missions. By the time the expedition concluded, more than 1.5 million square miles of the continent had been photographed, with thousands of images gathered. Yet the photos weren't what captured the world's imagination. It was the mystery of what might have occurred beyond the official narrative and what Byrd may have encountered. According to formal accounts, Operation High Jump ran from December 1946 through March 1947, though the mission ended several weeks ahead of schedule. That sudden withdrawal sparked a storm of speculation. Reports of damaged aircraft, missing personnel, and inexplicable encounters led many to wonder if something had gone terribly wrong, or perhaps if something had been found. One enduring theory proposes that the operation's true objective was to locate a rumored Nazi base buried beneath the ice near Queen Maud Land, the same area once explored by the German New Swabia expedition. Those who believe in this theory point to the unusually large military presence and the use of advanced reconnaissance aircraft. They also reference mysterious crashes, including the loss of the Martin PBM-5 flying boat George I, which took the lives of 3 crewmen. In the aftermath of Operation High Jump, stories began to circulate that Byrd had encountered something extraordinary during one of his reconnaissance flights. Some accounts suggest his plane entered an impossible region, a pocket of temperate air surrounded by the Antarctic ice, where green valleys stretched under a warm sky. Others claim he witnessed not just a change in climate, but a distortion of reality itself, where strange flying craft appeared in the air and contact was made with beings from an advanced subterranean civilization. None of this appeared in official documentation, yet in the 1,960 seconds, a document surfaced, purportedly Byrd's secret diary from the expedition. In its pages, Byrd allegedly describes an encounter with a craft unlike anything known to humankind. His instruments failed, his radio was taken over, and he was guided to land within a hidden valley. There, he wrote, he was met by tall beings with glowing eyes and profound knowledge. They led him to an underground city they called Agartha, said to lie within the earth itself, a concept rooted in the hollow earth theory. According to that belief, our planet is not a solid sphere, but a layered shell filled with vast inner spaces, cities, and oceans. Agartha, the most prominent of these realms, is described as a civilization older and more advanced than ours. The so-called Old Ones of Agartha were said to command technology far beyond the surface world's understanding. from craft that flew without fuel to mastery over natural forces. Variations of this story echo through mythologies worldwide, from the Tibetan Shambhala to the subterranean cities of the Mayans and Celts, each telling of civilizations hidden beneath the earth. The legend of Agartha gained particular traction in the 19th century as European occult writers expanded the myth of a lost inner world. What truly brought the tale into modern imagination, however, was its alleged link to Admiral Byrd and Antarctica. The diary claims that the Agarthians warned him of humanity's growing obsession with nuclear weapons and its dangerous trajectory. They professed to have watched surface civilization for centuries and feared its self-destruction. Byrd was instructed to deliver their warning, a plea for peace and balance, before being returned through the ice. Yet no official confirmation of this diary has ever surfaced. Many consider it a fabrication, noting that Byrd himself never publicly spoke of such experiences, and that no evidence supports the story's authenticity. Even so, the story refused to die, fueled by the veil of secrecy surrounding parts of Operation High Jump and a few of Byrd's cryptic remarks. In a rare interview published in Chile in March of 1947, Byrd spoke with an almost prophetic tone about the future importance of Antarctica. He warned that one day the United States might face an attack coming from over the polar regions, a statement that some later interpreted as a hint about something extraordinary he might have encountered. As the Cold War tightened its grip on global politics, America intensified its Antarctic missions. Operation Windmill took place between 1947 and 1948, followed by Operation Deep Freeze during the International Geophysical Year in 1957 and 1958. Byrd still participated, though age and illness were catching up to him. He passed away in 1957, only a few months after his final journey to the frozen continent. Even now, the complete story of Operation High Jump continues to provoke debate. The mission undeniably achieved valuable scientific outcomes and expanded the known boundaries of Antarctica, yet the immense military scale and its abrupt conclusion have kept conspiracy theories alive. Was it truly just a training exercise, or did the Navy stumble upon something it could not explain or perhaps could not control? In the final stages of World War II and in the years that followed, strange accounts began to circulate. They spoke of unfamiliar flying craft, vehicles unlike anything humanity had seen before. Witnesses described these objects as silent, incredibly fast, and shaped like discs. Initially, many dismissed them as imagination or rumor, but after the war, reports of unidentified flying objects began emerging from every corner of the planet. Some researchers started to connect two seemingly separate ideas, the surge in UFO sightings and the secret technology developed by Nazi Germany. During the war, German engineers pursued highly advanced weapons, jet aircraft, long-range missiles, and experimental propulsion systems. Simultaneously, parts of the Nazi elite were fascinated by mysticism, ancient legends, and supposed hidden powers. In that blend of science and the supernatural, several secret societies often appear in the stories. One of the best known was the Thule Society, devoted to Aryan mythology and the belief in an inner earth. Alongside it appeared another mysterious name, the Vril Society, said to believe in an unseen force called Vril, an energy capable of powering machines and expanding human consciousness. According to these accounts, members practiced meditation and esoteric rituals to reach non-human intelligences, perhaps from other worlds or from within our own planet. Some theories suggest that these mystical ideas inspired actual technological experiments. It is said that certain Nazi scientists tried to transform these beliefs into reality. Three names recur in the lore: Haunebu, Vril, and Dieglok, meaning the bell. These were alleged to be experimental craft, disc-shaped, noiseless, and powered by unknown forces, possibly even anti-gravity. Of them all, Dieglok stands out. It was described as a bell-shaped device that emitted a strange light and a haunting hum. Some claimed it could fly without wings. Others believed it could manipulate time and space. Most of what we know comes from later writers, with little physical proof, yet the story persists as one of the most iconic elements of the Nazi UFO myth. After the war, the legend only deepened. In 1947, just 2 years after Germany's surrender, the world witnessed the first major wave of UFO sightings, beginning with the famous incidents in the United States. Researchers began asking whether these objects were extraterrestrial or remnants of secret German engineering. That same year, the United States initiated Operation Paperclip, a covert effort to bring hundreds of German scientists to American soil. Many of them had worked on advanced weapons programs, and they later played vital roles in developing American rockets and aircraft. Some believe they also carried with them forbidden knowledge of disk technology, and a few even claim that certain UFOs were actually test flights of machines built from those designs. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union also seized scientists' blueprints and experimental hardware. Both superpowers were desperate to harness any advantage during the Cold War. If disc-shaped craft truly existed, they may have found their way into the classified programs of either nation. But for some, the theory reaches even deeper. Some people have long imagined that the Nazis were not the only minds behind their machines, that some unseen intelligence lent a hand. These tales suggest that Nazi leaders reached out to entities beyond the human realm. Whether beings from another planet or another dimension, they supposedly whispered secrets of technology in silence. The exchange, as the stories go, happened in strange ways, through visions, encounters in dreams, or direct communication of the mind. After the war, it was said that elite Nazi scientists and officers vanished into hidden Antarctic bases, continuing their work out of sight. Over the following decades, books, magazines, and television gave these stories new life. Theories began to spiral, linking Nazi science to UFOs and to visitors from the stars. Some insisted that extraterrestrials had been their partners. Others claimed the Nazis had unearthed forgotten knowledge, fragments of a civilization erased by time. Historians do agree on one thing. Nazi Germany was ahead of its era in the making of weapons, jet aircraft, sophisticated rockets, and designs unlike anything else were very real. But when it comes to disks that defy gravity or any supposed alien alliance, the evidence vanishes into thin air. Documents describing such feats are missing, unverifiable, or likely never existed. Yet, the fascination never died. If anything, the rise of satellites and high-resolution imagery has drawn more eyes to the frozen south than ever before. Mysterious shapes on the white landscape continue to feed imagination. With digital eyes like Google Earth, anyone can now wander across the ice from the comfort of their chair. One image in particular, from the southern Atlantic side of Antarctica, captured worldwide attention. It showed what looked like a long, linear mark across the snow, ending in a dark, tilted mass. The picture spread fast, many calling it the crash site of a massive, unidentified craft. The apparent track suggested motion, and the object, half buried yet distinct, fueled a storm of speculation. Some saw it as a secret military plane, others as something beyond this world. Another image revealed an oval shape half buried in snow, smooth and symmetrical against the endless white, too geometric to seem natural. Online investigators declared it might be a colossal disk, a vessel trapped beneath centuries of ice, or perhaps a piece of a hidden structure below. Theories expanded to suggest underground facilities, portals, and buried machines. Not all discoveries, though, looked mechanical. One of the most debated satellite images revealed what appeared to be a colossal face staring upward from the snow. In Antarctica's remote southeast, people saw eyes, a nose, and a mouth frozen into the surface. Some called it an alien face, others compared it to ancient gods. The thought that something had left its mark there took hold quickly. For some, it was a relic of a lost civilization. For others, a sign that watchers might still linger below the ice. Elsewhere, a lonely iceberg drew attention because of its uncanny shape. It seemed to resemble a massive ship angled and partly sunken into the sea ice. From certain perspectives, it looked like an icy ocean liner, complete with decks and windows. Nobody claimed it was real, yet its crisp edges and symmetry led some to suggest intelligent design. Some theories stretched from secret engineering projects to relics from an unknown civilization, trapped for ages beneath the ice and now emerging as the glaciers retreat. Then came the reports and photographs, showing seals perfectly preserved, discovered miles from the sea, high in the mountains where no seals should ever be. Their mummified remains, sometimes centuries or millennia old, were found far from any established migration routes. No one can yet say with certainty how or why these animals ended up there, or what force might have drawn them so deep inland. Some imagine they were lured by reflections of light on distant glaciers, chasing what they mistook for open water. Others see these remains as silent markers of something much larger, perhaps the echo of ancient climate shifts or pathways that existed when the face of the planet looked very different. To some minds, these are natural mysteries waiting for science to solve. To others, they are whispers from the deep past. Scientists across the world continue to explore rational explanations rooted in geology, meteorology, and biology. Yet not everyone finds those answers satisfying. The mere fact that Antarctica remains one of the most restricted and tightly regulated regions on Earth is, for some, evidence enough that secrets lie buried there. This suspicion traces back to a pivotal event, the signing of the Antarctic Treaty. On December 1st, 1959, as Cold War tensions rose, 12 nations gathered in Washington, D.C. to establish an accord that would redefine the destiny of the frozen continent. These nations, including the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, had all taken part in scientific collaborations during the International Geophysical Year of 1957-58. The document they signed contained only 14 articles, brief in length but monumental in consequence. The Antarctic Treaty came into effect on June 23rd, 1961, declaring that everything south of the 60th parallel would be reserved solely for peaceful purposes. Military operations, nuclear testing, and radioactive dumping were all forbidden. Scientific inquiry would remain free and open to all signatory nations. No new territorial claims could be made, and any data collected would have to be shared with the world. At first glance, it appeared to be an idealistic gesture, a promise to preserve a pristine realm for peace and discovery. Over time, more nations joined, and today more than 50 are bound by this pact. Yet it is precisely this remarkable unity, forged during a period of deep geopolitical rivalry, that fuels ongoing speculation about the treaty's deeper motives. Just 14 years had passed since the end of World War II. The Cold War had split the planet into opposing ideologies, with the United States and the Soviet Union locked in competition across every frontier, from the arms race to the stars. And yet, in this climate of mistrust, those same adversaries agreed to demilitarize the last unclaimed expanse of Earth. To some, that coincidence feels far too neat. For the more suspicious, it raises a provocative question, one that still echoes today. What was happening in Antarctica that made such an agreement necessary? Technically, Antarctica is not completely forbidden, but access is rigorously controlled. Only select scientists, equipped with special clearance, training, and gear, are permitted to work there. Tourists are allowed to visit certain coastal zones under tight supervision, but the immense interior, millions of square kilometers, remains almost untouched. There are flight-restricted zones, environmentally protected areas off limits to the public, and research stations that require advance authorization to enter. All these layers of control give the continent an aura of secrecy. Some imagine alien technology frozen beneath the ice. Others dream of a vanished civilization, maybe linked to Atlantis or some other ancient legend. There are even claims that secret experiments are being conducted there, hidden from public view. The surveillance, the limitations, the silence, all of it, in the eyes of believers, confirms that a deeper truth is being concealed. Over time, the original treaty evolved into what is now known as the Antarctic Treaty System, a framework of additional agreements and environmental regulations, complete with its own secretariat in Buenos Aires. Every year, member nations gather to discuss science, safety, and preservation, though the proceedings remain closed to the public. Supporters say this system protects one of Earth's last great wildernesses. Critics argue it protects something else entirely. But for scientists, Antarctica is not a forbidden zone. It is a vast, natural laboratory, a place where Earth itself keeps its oldest secrets written in ice, a place where the past sleeps beneath layers of frozen time, and where the story of our planet's future might already be inscribed. Forget the myths and conspiracies that swirl around it, because Antarctica's real significance is far greater, not for what it conceals, but for what it unveils. For generations, scientific expeditions to this vast, icy wilderness have expanded our understanding of the planet we call home. Deep within its glaciers, some reaching more than 4 kilometers thick, lie bubbles of ancient air, each one a whisper from a bygone age. These frozen layers form a chronological record of temperature, atmospheric gases, and environmental shifts stretching back over 1 million years. By drilling through that ice, we unlock the archives of Earth's climate, comparing ancient rhythms to the accelerated pulse of today's warming world. In 1985, the discovery of the ozone hole above Antarctica showed us how something invisible could threaten the entire planet. The ice gives us a view of the past, yet the future of this continent may hinge on something more unexpected: invaders. And these invaders are not metaphorical, they are living organisms. Scientists now warn that a growing number of non-native species are finding their way to Antarctica, hitching rides on ships, aircraft, food containers, and even the soles of human boots. One housefly, one seed caught on a parka could become a biological intruder. In 2014, a hydroponic greenhouse at Australia's Davis Station was overtaken by a minuscule species called a collembolan, or springtail, never before seen in that region. In the warmth and humidity, they multiplied rapidly, drifting across pools of water until researchers intervened. The entire facility was shut down, sterilized, and ultimately dismantled, as if containing a viral outbreak. In this fragile ecosystem, even the tiniest outsider can spark chaos. Some invasions, though, have proved more resilient. A small mushroom fly survived in a station sewage system for over 2 decades, refusing to vanish. Marine species, like mussels from distant oceans, have appeared along the Antarctic Peninsula, likely clinging to the hulls of ships that ferry tourists and scientists alike. Though tiny, these creatures have the power to reshape entire ecosystems if left unchecked. As rising temperatures melt Antarctica's coastal barriers, regions once sealed by ice are opening to both people and pests. For researchers, these incursions are more than logistical headaches. They are omens. The equilibrium of Antarctic life, shaped in isolation over millions of years, is unraveling. Scientists are in a race to document native species before they're displaced by new arrivals. Antarctica might still stand as Earth's final refuge from industrial sprawl, but even that sanctuary is under threat. Some suggest that the spread of alien life here could reveal something deeper, a glimpse of what happens when 2 ecosystems, even 2 worlds, collide. In that way, the appearance of foreign organisms mirrors our fascination with life beyond Earth. When we talk about alien species, we're not invoking creatures from other planets, but the analogy isn't far-fetched. These organisms arrive uninvited, altering the environment in ways we can't always foresee. As the ice recedes and accessibility grows, Antarctica enters a new era. Tourism is climbing, supply routes are multiplying, and the old barriers, the cold, the distance, the hostile seas, are losing their grip. For science, this new reality holds equal parts promise and peril. And perhaps the most pressing question being asked here is one that concerns every one of us. Over the past century, the planet's average temperature has surged at a disturbing pace, and few places have felt that transformation as profoundly as Antarctica. The Antarctic Peninsula, in particular, is heating faster than nearly any other place on Earth. In some regions, temperatures have climbed nearly 3 degrees Celsius in just 50 years, a sign that this frozen continent is now a front line in the story of our changing world. As a consequence of our changing planet, glaciers are pulling back, sea ice melts earlier with each passing year, and entire shelves of ice are breaking apart. These are not isolated events. They echo across the globe. Antarctica alone locks away roughly 90% of Earth's fresh water inside its immense sheets of ice. If that ice were to melt, the world's oceans would rise. The West Antarctic ice sheet by itself holds enough frozen water to lift global sea levels by more than 3 meters. While such a total collapse could unfold over centuries, the signs suggest that the process may already be underway. As the ice continues to retreat, a once unthinkable question begins to surface among scientists. Could Antarctica ever turn green again? It sounds like science fiction. Yet in truth, this land was not always frozen. About 100 million years ago, during the time of dinosaurs, it was a warm, forested continent. Fossils reveal lush ecosystems that once thrived there, with trees, ferns, and even wildfires. Beneath today's thick ice lie the ghostly outlines of ancient rivers and valleys, whole landscapes preserved in cold storage. If warming persists at its current pace, parts of Antarctica, particularly its coasts, could gradually return to those prehistoric conditions. Some researchers predict that by the century's end, rising temperatures and heavier rainfall might nurture grasslands and resilient plants along the continent's edges. Invasive species, such as bluegrass, have already taken root on the Antarctic Peninsula, and gentoo penguins, known for favoring warmer environments, are marching farther south than ever before. Looking 200 years ahead, experts speculate that sections near the coast could become temperate enough to sustain small-scale agriculture. Barley, potatoes, and grazing animals might endure brief growing seasons in specially selected zones. Scientists even propose that one day small human settlements could exist there without depending entirely on imported food. But this potential greening would not come without cost. The melting of the great ice sheets would reshape Earth's climate systems in unpredictable ways. Rising seas would endanger cities worldwide. Ecosystems that have evolved in isolation for millions of years could be overtaken by newcomers. The pristine wilderness that makes Antarctica so captivating to science, its frozen, quiet, and untouched terrain, could vanish forever. Despite a warmer future, Antarctica's natural extremes, from long polar nights to low sunlight angles, will still limit what is possible. Most of the continent, especially deep inland, will remain too frigid, too arid, and too dark for farming or lasting human presence. Yet along the outer edges, where sunlight lingers and warmth builds, life might slowly find its way back. What comes next for Antarctica remains uncertain. Some imagine it as the final refuge, a cool sanctuary as tropical regions grow unbearable. Others caution that once the ice melt accelerates beyond control, consequences will unfold beyond our foresight. One thing is beyond debate: the world is watching. Long regarded as a frozen relic, Antarctica now reflects humanity's impact and hints at the future we are shaping. Scientists will keep their instruments trained on it, from remote bases and satellites orbiting above, decoding the ice for clues to both our past and our destiny. The forbidden continent is no longer silent. Its glaciers creak, its weather patterns shift, its ancient secrets stir awake. Until the last of the ice surrenders its mysteries, Antarctica will remain our planet's final great unknown, a land of stillness, inquiry, and awe. If this journey stirred your curiosity, share your thoughts. And if you think more people should uncover Antarctica's wonders, spread the message. Keep your mind open, and until we cross paths again. Good night.